I just got back from seeing Suspiria, and I'll have some sort of review for you right after this. Okay, so I went to see the remake of Suspiria, a remake of the Dario Argento film. Has to be, I think it was late 60s, early 70s, somewhere in there. Not an expert on Argento films, so could be off on that. This is the 2018 remake from Amazon Studios, starring Dakota Johnson and Tilda Swinton and a host of other people. And I remember, or at least I think I do, if my memory holds, and you can certainly go back through our channel and double check me. I think that when I saw the trailer for this film, that I was excited about it. Not because I was a huge fan of the original film. In fact, I knew I'd watched it, but I didn't really remember much about it other than it was visually impressive with color and all that. So that was really all I remembered from that film. And I liked the trailer very much, so I was excited to check it out. I had been paying attention to theaters around me, waiting for it to hit a broader release so that I could go and see it. So I kept my eyes on it for a long time, hoping that I'd get a chance to see it. Now, this movie is 2 hours, I think, and 35 minutes or something like that. I could be off by a minute or two there. But it finally came to a theater near me, and I was able to go and check it out. And that's where I really run out of things to say. You can accuse me, certainly, of not being a fan of the whole oeuvre of Italian horror. But that's not really true. I've watched my fair share, and I've appreciated and enjoyed some of them very much. But this film, I really don't know what my expectations were going into it. I felt like perhaps, if I recall correctly, my reaction to the original trailer was that I felt like this was going to be in the same vein of the original, at least in the sense of very vivid, very colorful, very stylized sort of images. And it was not. In any way that you look at it, and again, this is non-spoiler, I'm not going to go into all the problems I had with the story, because if this is up your alley and you want to go see it, by all means. But I went in expecting to be visually entertained, if nothing else, and I didn't get that. I got a film full of muted tones, very drab, very winter, and it just, nothing aside from one sequence of images sort of put to you very quickly in a dream sort of sequence. There wasn't that sort of artistic, vivid, colorful, out there sort of vibe that I thought I was going to get from this. Now, there's plenty of out there stuff in the movie, but it just visually, it was nothing that I thought that it would be. And then, honestly, and this is just me, so certainly mileage will vary for you, but because so much of this was centered on the modern dance aspect of the framework of the story, I got really bored with that. Modern dance is not something I have a real appreciation for. In spite of all the artistic things that I do appreciate, dance is not one of those things that I have an affinity for. So I felt like the movie really was bogged down with some of that. And I also feel like, and again, just my opinion, I'm not a critic, this is just my thoughts after having seen the film. Especially having just seen The Haunting of Hill House, which I feel like is one of the better horror attempts, especially as far as streaming stuff goes. But even when I compare it to other horror films, it's such a solid piece of work, from the directing to the framing to the cinematography, the staging, and the design of everything, the acting, everything about that production was first rate to me. Suspiria felt like it thought it was really clever. It felt like it took itself very seriously, and it really didn't need to. The acting, I can say that Tilda Swinton is amazing in anything and everything, and there were definitely some twists with her that about a third of the way through, I caught on to something about a particular character. I won't say anything more. Although if you dig around online, you can find it, because I immediately was like, I have to know if I was right about that, and I was. So don't dig around too much if you're looking to have a spoiler-free experience. But she's fantastic, as always, in spite of the movie that she's in. Dakota Johnson was okay. I don't really have much of an experience with her, except for Bad Times at the El Royale, which I just saw not long ago. She was fine in that. She didn't have a lot to do. In this movie, there's a lot of heavy lifting for her, and I just felt like she was okay. And again, that's just sort of my take on that. Visually, I just found this film to be rather dull and not at all what I thought I was getting into. And maybe that's on me. Maybe I went in with certain expectations that were unrealistic and unfair because of how poorly I remember the original. I don't know. That would certainly be a fair assessment. But when I've recently seen things that do horror better, things that do deeper better, it's hard for me to excuse this film sort of I don't know. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. It just seems really full of itself, and like it thinks it's really smart. And maybe, I get that I'm not slow, when it comes to metaphor. And I got some of the connections that they were trying to make, both with the setting of the film and the past, Germany's past, also the hostage situation that's happening, and these are not spoilers because it's just background noise, not having to do with the actual story. But I understood that those were part of the structure because there were metaphors to be seen there. I just didn't think they all worked, and I didn't think that they were all as clever as the writers and directors of this film seemed to think that they were. But that's just me, and I really don't, I really struggled with how to talk about this film. I saw it 2 days ago, and am just now filming this because I marinated in it. I thought about it. I slept on it. I couldn't discuss it with anybody because nobody else in the house had seen it. But I just was coming up blank about how to talk about it, other than to say, really simply, I didn't think it worked. It didn't work for me. It wasn't as clever. It wasn't as complex as it seemed to think that it was. And I just felt bored for the most part. There was a lot of certainly sexuality plays a part in this film. I thought it was not handled particularly well. There was a lot of non-sexual nudity that was also kind of just out of place and there, I guess, to be shocking or garish or whatever. And that too didn't work for me. It really felt like a film that didn't know what it was trying to do. I don't know if it was trying too hard. Again, I haven't seen the original in some time. I don't know if it was trying too hard to hang on to parts of that, so much so that it didn't but fully become its own thing, or if it fully rejected that and what it was trying to be on its own just didn't work. But either way, I came out of there feeling very confused about what I had seen and what they were going for and what their tone was meant to be. It just didn't work for me. Now, other critics have liked it. Other critics have been mixed. After I saw it, after I decided to, on what I wanted to say to you today, I did take a look at some of those things. And, it seems like the reactions are kind of all over the board. So, knowing that, I would say to you, don't take my word for it. If it's a movie that you think that you would enjoy, certainly go and see and form an opinion for yourself. But when I go see a movie and I film one of these, I'm here to tell you what I think, and this is it. Now, we grade films here based on our name, pop, pop, fizzle. If it's a fizzle, that means don't bother seeing it. If it's a pop, it means, sure, maybe check it out when it hits streaming or something, but don't rush out and pay big ticket money to see it. If it's a double pop, that means stop what you're doing, go out now, get the big corn and the big drink, and enjoy this movie on the big screen as it's meant to be enjoyed. This one's tough for me. Personally, it's a fizzle. I didn't appreciate anything about this film other than perhaps Tilda Swinton's acting. I just didn't have anything to grab onto. As for thinking kind of outside myself, I can see that some people might enjoy trying to unpack this and maybe looking for the kind of complexity that I think the filmmakers were shooting for. I don't think they got it. But I could be wrong. So I would say that if anything, it's somewhere between a fizzle and a pop. If it seems like the kind of movie that you would enjoy, then by all means see it. But there was nothing about it visually that requires big screen treatment. I wish myself that I had just waited until Amazon streams it. It's their property. I'm sure they will. But that wasn't my experience. I saw it on the big screen, and it just didn't seem like it earned that treatment to me. Again, just my opinion. So for me, somewhere between a pop and a fizzle. Mileage is going to vary. Do what you like. I just didn't care for the film. I don't like that. I don't like that feeling because I know that people put a lot of hard work into making this film happen, and I know that Amazon Studios faced some lawsuits because of some imagery that was used and that kind of thing. Maybe the movie would have been better if they'd kept that in. I don't know. I do know that I feel bad when I say bad things about a movie because I know the kind of work that goes into one. But I have to be honest with you, I just don't think it worked. And this is one of those few times where I have to say it's really close to a fizzle for me. If you thought differently, if you've already seen it, certainly comment below and let me know what you thought about it. If you're not planning to see it or you saw the original, have a fondness for that and didn't think it needed to be remade, I'd like to hear that too. I do want to go back and watch the original again. After having this experience, maybe that would change my perspective on it. And if you watch our channel and you're more familiar with Heidi and I sitting here together and discussing things, I did kind of tell her what my thoughts were about this film. And she said that maybe when it hits streaming, maybe we can do a second review where she and I process it together and break down and kind of unpack it a little bit. That's something that maybe you can look forward to in the future. But for me, personally, I just didn't feel like it worked for me. Hopefully the next one will. Anyway, that's it for me. If you like this video, be sure and hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. We're really close to 200 subscribers. I know that seems really tiny to you when you compare us to other channels and stuff, but here's the thing. We're not comparing ourselves to other channels. We're not trying to make a living out of this or trying to whatever. We just enjoy talking about movies and TV shows and that kind of thing, and we like inviting you to the party. So, if you're not already subscribed, please consider doing that. And if you are subscribed, hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next time we do one of these. I got a lot of editing to do, so I'm not sure what order these things are falling to you in. I know that we just finished recently doing our review for The Haunting of Hill House. If you haven't already checked that out, go back and check that out. review for Daredevil Season 3 as well. And I saw just last night with my eldest daughter, saw the movie Look Away. I'll do a review for that as well. So anyway, that's it for now. Until next time, folks. Bye.